I got the latest problem with the 2006 Honda Pilot is pretty sure my battery cables have gotten corroded. Last summer, changed out the alternator. This summer, changed out the starter. Those both needed it, but still having some issues. Recently, I was trying to do some work with the radio, so I was taking the negative post off the battery, putting it back on, and I think I must have finally jiggled it just right, because when I went to start the car after I fixed the radio, I got the, which was pretty indicative that it was something with the electrical. And so I put my multimeter on the battery and I got good voltage for the battery, so the battery seems to be fine. So that leaves me to think it's the cables. And once you inspect the cables, you see there's corrosion all over them, so got to get those suckers out of there. So this is how I'm going to do that. All right, so first thing obviously is you're going to take off the terminals off the battery, and that's pretty easy. It's just with the factory cables, it's a 10mm nut. Just loosen it on both posts, pull the posts off. This is just a battery retainer. Same thing, 10mm nuts on the end of these, and just take that, and then the battery would just come right out. Got these cheap battery cables from AutoZone. They don't have enough connection, and also, I mean, I don't have any of these clips. It also doesn't have the heat protective loom on it. Thanks a lot, AutoZone. This is a 10mm. Clips pop out of there. This plastic piece just comes right out. And this is just bolted down, but I need a screwdriver to pry that off. I'm going to skip over to the positive real quick and get a wrench for that. 10mm wrench. Ratchet box end wrench. I always like to kind of stick bolts back where they were so I don't forget where they went. Okay, so the positive lead goes straight to the starter. I don't know if you can see that far down in there, but this clip, you just have to put a screwdriver in and push out a little tab, push it outward, then it slips right off of that post there. Okay, so replacing just the negative cable may not be as hard as I was thinking. Once you follow it down here, this is where the battery sits. Here it comes, it goes down, and we followed it down this way, under here. This is the positive's kind of in our way. Push that out of the way, it keeps going. See where my fingertip is? Okay, so the negative terminal down at the bottom is a 10mm. You're going to want a really long extension, or in my case, 2 extensions. And we'll just put it down in there. Probably going to need a magnet to lift that out of there. So if you don't have something like one of these telescopic magnets, they have them right at the front counter at AutoZone. They're only a couple bucks or something. So there's the negative screw that holds on the negative terminal at the bottom. See this magnetic wristband? They sent me this thing for free to review it. And so I think our negative cable is ready to come out. Can you see the green corrosion? It's actually not quite as bad as I thought it would probably be, but probably bad enough that will stop a good connection. I really wish the AutoZone one looked anything like this. So I'm going to need that retainer clip there too. Probably not healthy for your skin either, kids. Why in the world is that uncovered right there? Seems like it's just asking for... I've seen other videos where they just pull that and it just frays all apart. I thought mine would be that bad. It's getting there. I don't know if my camera's picking it up, but as I bend it, you can see there's flakes of corrosion coming off of it. So this is what we're going to replace. Look how tiny the fusible link is right there. Actually, this one doesn't have a fusible link. Both my new ones do, because that needs to bolt to the frame. Probably isn't going to hurt to go ahead and put in the AutoZone cable, even though it doesn't have the heat shield loom on it. We just need to figure a way to get this piece bolted to the frame where this piece used to be. I sliced open a little more of the sheath on this, the old cable, and it actually doesn't look too bad under there. but it was this piece there that was getting pretty bad. Same with the top end, bad up near the battery post. But to keep this little connector that connected straight from the terminal to the frame, so I want to put it on this one. This is actually really hard to do because that does not bend. In fact, I tried to pry this open, snap the end of my screwdriver off. If you can see that. Tried hammering an awl down in the middle to knock the copper wire out, and that wasn't working. So eventually I just broke the old one off, and then I had to drill out the old copper wire in there. Now I just need to figure a way to attach it to the new one. Now that I look at this, that new wire is probably not even going to be long enough to reach the frame. So first I'm going to go ahead and bolt this to the engine. So after trying several different ways to use a magnet to hold the bolt as I try to screw it in, it just is not working. I tried sticking this around my socket, but it's just too big. Now I can't get in there, and it's just not holding good enough. I'm going to try this trick, which is to jam the bolt in there with a little piece of cloth. Thanks, Rick does stuff. I saw this on his channel. We'll see how that works. Finally got the cable to sit over the hole. I can just aim my bolt on there straight. Must have got it. I just need to tighten it. I wish I could give you a better way to get that on there for sure, but it's just feeling it around until it finally gets in there. Another hard thing about all this is the car is parked in the garage right up against everything, and I don't hardly have any room to do any work. But it's when the car's not running, you can't get it into neutral. You can't even roll it anywhere. That's what you give up with stick shifts. But you can put a stick shift into neutral anytime. That good tight. That's a good connection. Alright, so we have the lower end now. We put that one little clamp back on. I don't know how well it's going to hold now because it broke the clippy clips on it. Clip that around the wire. Positive. It just kind of clips on the side of this. It snaps in up here. I like the way they wire, like they have things clip in and stuff because it holds everything in place. I just wish they would come up with a clipping system that was like less permanent. Something you could undo and reattach easily. Okay, I'm going to drop the battery back in now. And when I say drop, I mean literally drop it.
Drop it like it's hot.
Let's go ahead and put the clamper back on. I think every manufacturer should have to work on the thing they make. Clips on the top of that. Clip there. Now, before we hook everything back, we got to figure out how to get that to reach that when it's on the post. So this new negative terminal from AutoZone comes with this, which I wish I knew more about this stuff. I don't know what that is. It's like a ground wire, but that's what a negative post is. It's a ground. It goes to the bottom of the engine. So what's this for?
I'm so damn confused.
The old one had a lot thicker gauge coming up, and it was screwed to the side of the car, this eyelet here. And I finally got the old one out of there, and somehow I've got to crimp this on there. This is really strong metal. It's really hard to bend, but it's not long enough. So I've got to somehow get some extra wire. What I ended up doing was taking a section of the old wire, putting this back on it where it was. Kind of wonder, like, well, why didn't I just leave that on there? Well, it was corroded up here around that, and I think most of the wire that stayed inside the sheath is not corroded, and so I cut off the ends and then try to bend this out and get that out of there, and then put the wire in, like shave off some of the sheath on it and then put the wire in. Had to use my vise to crank that down back together. I'm sure they have machines that do all this stuff, but so that'll be my tip to put it back on here. It doesn't all fit in there nicely the way they had it, but I don't know if that's really necessary because we're going to such a smaller wire. It's like anything that goes in there is probably enough. So I'll bolt that to the car there and then use the crimper that they have to crimp the end of that inside of there. So again, if I can just get a few wires in there, it's probably fine. Just shave off a little more. Just seems haphazard and crazy to me, but I don't know how else to do it. We're going from like a 2 gauge to like a 1 gauge wire. Once I figure out what I need, I'll end up cutting off all this extra on the edges there. I don't know how well you can see that, but that's just a fraction of what used to be there. I guess that'll have to do. Well, I'm putting that back. Probably wrap it with some electrical tape. Alright, boys and girls, we're going to go ahead and put the terminals back on, and you always put on the negative last, and so we'll go ahead and put the positive on. Note to you watching the video, if you wanted these on, you would have had to slide it on from that bottom side first. There. Before I actually put those on, I have a terminal post brush. And of course the one with the auto zone is going to be like a Corroded or something.
Save money, learn stuff, do it yourself.
When I score DIY, I will tell you.
Dropped it. Alright, gonna have to think what to do here.